Hi, this is Christy with Guidepost to Wellness. Welcome back to all my return viewers and welcome to anybody that's new. On this channel we talk about anything and everything that can have to do with wellness and improving your overall health. And one of the things I've been doing recently has been a little bit of a series talking about the fact that we are sitting on average 10 hours a day, that we're not moving enough. And I just recently wrapped up doing turned out to be 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks, Sit Less Move More challenge. So this is a follow-up to that, talking about how much walking a day should you do. Really wanted to talk about that, and the reason why is we hear that 10,000 steps thrown out there all the time. And what was interesting is I just went for a 5+ mile hike with my husband, and I wasn't using any strict pedometer. I was using my iPhone. But I found out that works pretty well, and if I use it consistently, I'm getting a pretty good idea of the number of steps that I do. And we did a 5.2 mile hike, and it was not even quite 10,000 steps. And I was like, wow. So the average person with an average stride, and especially since I was in the military, or anybody who's done anything like that, or marching band, you learn how to kind of walk with the same length of stride all the time. So if you have an average stride length, about 2,000 steps is about a mile of walking. So 5 miles a day for the average person. And if you think about the pace, most of us walk about 2 to 3 miles per hour, depending on if we're strolling or trying to, walk briskly. So 2 miles an hour, that's 2.5 hours of walking a day. And for most of it, that may just not be realistic. For most healthy adults, the Department of Health and Human Services recommends at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a week, or 75 minutes of vigorous. Well, right now I've just been working on getting folks off the couch, moving from couch potato to just moving more, let alone getting to the point of any type of vigorous activities. And if you think about that and you break that down throughout the week of 150 minutes, that's about 30 minutes a day walking briskly. Well, that's not going to hit 10,000 steps at all. That might hit 2,000 plus steps if you're doing that a week. So you can see it can get really, really confusing. So I think the key thing is that you want to make sure that you are continually pushing yourself when you set your intentions. Like I talked about before, that you're setting your intention to improve the amount of time that you're moving, to improve your overall health, setting those SMART goals. And you want to make sure that you're pushing yourself, but don't just pick an arbitrary goal of 10,000 steps because Fitbit or somebody else tells you should. I mean, I remember even my sister would try to do 10,000 steps a day, and that's just a lot of walking. And so try to be realistic with what you set up as your goal. Now, if we can aim for 2 to 4 miles a day of walking, and that can include that moderate aerobic activity, that's going to be a really good place to start. But again, I think you've got to have your baseline, and you have to figure out what is realistic for you. Now, the next thing is talking about what is a brisk pace. They use the term brisk pace. And that can be 2 miles an hour for somebody who doesn't walk a lot. I had one of my clients who was fairly overweight and had some back and joint issues and things like that. So I just got her walking and dancing around her dining room table for periods of time. And that when she went to the grocery store, that she would go up and down the aisles twice, that she was going to get herself to walk more. So the pace you want to use is not a miles per hour, it's not 2 miles per hour, it's not 4 miles per hour, because there's so many factors that go into that. For example, when we were hiking, if it was nice and flat, then we're keeping a pretty brisk pace. But walking upstairs or up an incline, then you're not going to keep the same pace. So to keep the same level of exertion or brisk pace, One exercise physiologist recommends you should be able to have a conversation and maybe talk and take a breath and not have just like a normal average conversation, but that you're not going to be able to sing. And that if you moved much faster, you would not be able to maintain your regular breathing and you'd feel a little breathless. So I think if we use that as a base for what is a brisk pace and then start building up the amount of time, and if you can get 30 minutes of some type of walking a day, and again, these can be in 3 10-minute chunks, that's outstanding. It's just the cumulative of that brisk pace and exerting yourself, you're going to be improving your cardiovascular gear. So taking the step of just moving more throughout the day and actually getting into a walking routine, there's some things that you want to make sure to consider. You want to make sure that you've got good walking shoes. I went to Savannah one time. I met my brother and brother-in-law down there, and I was wearing what I thought were very comfortable shoes, but they weren't meant for long duration walking. We walked over 9 miles that day, and the sandals that I was wearing were not ideally comfortable. So you want to make sure that you've got a good, comfortable shoe. There are places, if you do have any known type of foot, ankle, knee, hip, back issues, then you want to make sure that you've got a shoe that you've gone to and been fitted for, or something like that. You want to make sure that you're wearing good clothing and layers depending on the weather. That was one thing that we absolutely did, is wore layers, and we're peeling them off as we got warmed up. You want to make sure that you're walking and you're taking into account the time of day. If it's going to be dim light, you want to wear bright colors and definitely something reflective. If you're walking in the woods or a place where there could be maybe some dogs or animals, then maybe some pepper spray, or my husband likes to carry a hiking stick. So those are just some things to think about. Make sure you're making wise choices. One thing that's important for me is because, especially when it's humid, I can get migraines, and I did get one the other day. And a thing that's important is to make sure that you're hydrated before and during if you're taking longer walks. So have a water bottle with you. Make sure you choose your course carefully. We actually took the map with us so that we could kind of keep an idea of how far we were going, so we didn't bite off more than we could chew. And you just want to make sure that if you do have trouble walking, or you're having balance issues or anything like that, then perhaps start out at a track, or sidewalks, or a shopping mall is a great place to walk. Make sure that you warm up. Don't just get out there and think that you're going to go all the way to your brisk pace right off the bat. But then at the end too, you want to make sure that you slow down and you cool off a little bit. And if you stop, like we stopped and had a snack, we stretch during that time. And I'm going to be doing another video on some great stretches that everybody and anyone can be doing each day that would be really good to help make sure that you don't get stiff when you're walking. So these are just some of the things to consider if you're going to take your movement routine from moving more and sitting less to actually incorporating 30 plus minutes of walking. That would be a really great thing to move yourself towards, especially if you have already done the Move More challenge. So here are just some things to take into account and consider, and get moving. So I'll be having some more videos coming up along in this series, especially about some stretching and things like that. So take care, be well, and see you soon.